Hey everybody, I'm Anna J. Wellner with Indie Author Chat, and today I have with me Nicole Wells. Nicole, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nicole Wells, an indie author of new age romance and fantasy and science fiction and all that mixed together. That and more.
So you have a bunch of different interests whenever it comes to genres and different topics and themes that you explore in your work.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm definitely exploring different voices, and sometimes I set out to write one thing, but I just got to go with the flow. If the characters are feeling goofy and it wants to be a comedy, or if they're bringing the drama. Or one time, the worst story ever written, that was my attempt at paranormal, and it turned into a cozy mystery. It was my attempt at a paranormal romance and with this humorous cozy mystery. So um, I'm covering a lot of bases.
Well, I think whenever we start sometimes a project, then our characters kind of they take control sometimes, and they take you to a place where you didn't expect the book to go, which is fun sometimes and exciting.
Yeah, I one of the things that I love the most about writing is, I'm the type of person, when we go on vacation, I pack the kitchen sink. I take everything, I plot out everything, I plan out everything. If there was an option when going in the car to have like 10 seat belts, I would put them all in. Like I am overboard with all of that. And with writing, I am finding I'm a pantser, which is the most exhilarating experience to sit down in front of this blank screen. Like, where are we going to go today? What's going to happen? And for my first book, Upspark, I had the first scene and the last scene. And that's what I had for the book. And as I wrote, it filled in the middle. But it was amazing just to start, like, I had a crystal clear vision of the first scene and the last scene. But how we got from point A to B was a journey. And it's incredibly freeing. I love that part of writing so much. It's really therapeutic to just explore
Oh,
these parts of myself that I grew up much more of a scientific mindset. And, I've explored that part of me, but this artistic side of me and even the silly side and, delving into the romance and all of it, it's just an amazing experience to sit down and let it all out.
let loose. It's
Yeah.
that it's hilarious that you just said that because you described me to a T. In life, I plot things out to the minute if I can, but in writing, I am exactly the opposite. And maybe that says something about being so constrained in our real lives and then having that creative freedom that is so, as you said, therapeutic, that
Yeah.
we get to just put be unrestrained in the things that we write, which is so freeing.
Yeah.
So, uh, the first, so I wanted to talk about the central characters that you have in the first book,
Yeah.
Enya and Jacob.
Yeah.
And if you could tell us a little bit about them, and you explore some ties to Native American culture in that book and how you incorporated that into the story. Is that something that you have ties to, or is that just
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of like with that pantsing idea, and just you got to go with the flow of the story. Um, I have always been interested and fascinated by Native American culture, and I come at writing with this idea that it's not just telling a story, but it's also recognizing that I have a voice, and what am I going to use that voice for? And so it was really important to me to have, um, people of color and people of varied backgrounds and religious beliefs and sexual orientations and all of it to show diversity in my books. And so I'm sitting here writing this book, and I don't know, it just kind of came like, okay, Jacob is going to be a Native American, and I have always been interested in the Delaware tribe. And so I researched that extensively. I reached out to several members and had it read for sensitivity and everything. And it was such a wonderful journey to discover all that. And in books since, there might be this topic or that topic that I know nothing about. And that learning process, everyone jokes, like, as authors, if anyone looks at our Google history, like, don't judge me about like Google history, like all the things we have to research to give validity to our stories, and keep it accurate. But the Native American theme actually runs throughout the whole, not Native American, I should say, indigenous cultures runs throughout the whole series. And that was really important to me to give a voice to that.
I love that. And that's one of the things that really jumped out at me whenever I read the description on Amazon and piqued my interest in the series, is the fact that you do incorporate different cultural and heritages in your writing. And the 5 Elements series is actually based on Chinese medicinal practices.
Yeah, so it's based.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and the inspiration behind that the role that it plays in the book?
Yeah, definitely. I joke that, it sounds like I'm incredibly creative, but I'm actually basing it on Chinese medicine and acupuncture theory. So this is a kind of like a paradigm that's been around for millennia. And so it's very rich, and there's all these connections. And I had so much fun plotting, like, okay, if there were superpowers that, correlated to these different elements, how would that look? And so in Chinese medicine, you have 5 elements. There's fire, water, they're not saying these in order, wood, earth, and metal. And so almost each book correlates to its own element, but each element has its own kind of main character, and they exhibit the characteristics of that element. So Enya in Upspark, the main character of book 1, she resonates with this heart energy, this fire energy. And so her book is a lot about so heart energy has to deal with presence. So if you're connected with your heart and you're in line with your passion, you have an automatic presence. It's like that light that shines out of your eyes. And so this is something that she's grappling with. She is given a diagnosis that just, shakes her whole foundation, and working through the challenge of that. And then this kind of like once in 100 generations phenomena happens, and she has to grapple with all of these things and what that looks like as you're struggling, and in the end learning how deeply you can love yourself, how deeply you can love others. Like, so that book is really all about this heart energy and this fire energy of love. In contrast, the next, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. And it sounds like there's some themes of self-acceptance there as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah. There's some thread of just that heart energy is so much about being in the present moment, and so she really learns to embody that and manifest that. And I kind of joke because I started this book, and I started some of my writing, prior to writing Upspark, I dallied and made some forays into writing, but nothing really like got traction, nothing really took. And I found I was reading like the same, I was getting tired of some of the same tropes, reading the same book, and you get drawn in by a cover and like, have I read this before? You know, like, or you'd be in the middle of the book and kind of like, you know, it was having a hard time keeping my interest. You know, they were starting to be same old, same old. And at the same time, I'm here spending all this time like reading the fantasy novels and the romance novels and paranormal and all that. And at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I should be meditating. You know, I should, lots of shoulds. I need to do this and do that. So I actually, it's like my cheat. I wrote a book that's kind of like meditating, and it works the spirituality into it. So I wrapped it all up in Upspark and kind of hold it as my book baby. That's like, this is what I would have my kids read. Maybe not all the others, but this is the one that, you know, it's got the life lessons in it. And so that's the heart energy, that's presence and love and all of that. Stardust is the metal energy. And that one's, you know, you'd mentioned self-acceptance. That one, she struggles even more with the self-acceptance. Metal is about spirituality and being able to appreciate the beauty of things and honor and respect. And metal, when it's in imbalance, it doesn't hold that same space for others to feel honored and respected. And so that's something that Aurora, she's like a superstar, and she has to grapple with, how do I fully accept myself? How do I fully accept these changes in my life? Because she gets the superpower and it's like, well, what do I do with this? And now I'm supposed to save the world. So there's a touch of like superhero in it.
So do we see the same characters throughout the series, or do they change with the books?
It's a good question. So I wanted each book to have the focus be on that element.
And so, not the characters.
It required new characters. Okay. But there is some continuity. Okay. And then I had this, you know, I was like, let me make things really hard for myself. I wanted to write it so that at least the initial books could all be entry points into the series. So you could read, you know, book 2, and because each book, even more so because they're based on the elements, has different vibes and different personalities. Like you could skip book 1 if you wanted, if that was like, I don't feel like the inspirational kind of stuff now, I want to get straight into the action adventure, like that's more book 2, and even more book 3. So they have different vibes, and book 2 has a little bit more humor in it, and like book 3 is the wood energy. That's what I'm working on now. It's primarily the wood energy.
I was gonna ask if the series continues and when we might see the 3rd book, but yeah, but you're working on it now, so it's actually under construction at the moment.
Yeah, it's under construction, and so it's primarily about the wood energy. The earth sneaks in there as well, but wood out of balance is anger and rage. So it's definitely a different feel than the other 2, and it's I guess a little bit more like raw and antsy, and she is a spunky gal, so it's fun writing her. And the same thing, each element in its imbalance looks different than when it's balanced, and they all come with these gifts, and they're all working through something, which are common themes to all of us. You know, like none of us own anger or own despair,
right, or
the lack of self-acceptance, and so they're working through all those things, and that's kind of my goal with the books. I want to leave the readers with something, you know, like I want, when they finish the book, like I am different for having read this. And yeah, and that's because, you know, I got to the point, like I would look at my Kindle and I just flip through the books, like a lot of them felt similar, and I was ready for something different. And not that there's anything wrong with you know, hitting the market. There's a great demand for that. I wanted to write something different. So that's what I've done.
There's a really there's a quote that I think what is it? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. But if there's a book that you want to read that doesn't exist, write it. And that sounds like that's exactly what you did. Because sometimes the market gets saturated with a specific trope, and it's difficult to find your own take on it, or say, hey, I could do something different with it and then take off in a completely different direction. But I have to say that the way that you describe the series, number one, is with such passion, and I'm sure that comes through in the writing. And it sounds like it's almost like a journey of self-discovery for the reader when they read the individual books based on anger or on heart energy or what have you. It's almost like I'm trying to think of the way to say it, but it's almost like reading a mindfulness, an entertaining book on mindfulness.
Yeah, kind of. It's got new agey aspects to it, and
that
was my intention. I hope that people come with that. And if they don't, it's still entertaining. But my hope is that I send that message home. And it's funny because when I wrote Upspark, and then I put it out there, and people started reading it, and the beta readers and others, people kept coming back and comparing it to The Fault in Our Stars, which I hadn't read yet. I've read it since, but I think that at least for Upspark, that kind of captures it, that vibe of she's grappling with what is life about, and if I have X amount of time left, how do I make the most of that? How do I walk that with dignity, and then amidst all of that, finding love, and just love is so rich. There's so everything that comes with love. It's so powerful, and so just capturing just the slightest gleam of that amazing feeling and roller coaster, that's lots of fun. That's what it's all about.
Ultimately, the theme that I do see throughout each book is love, and I'd love to explore how is writing a paranormal romance different from writing, say, a typical romance for you? Because I know that you've done both.
Yeah. So I actually haven't published too much typical romance. I would say all of them. I mean, paranormal is defined in different ways. So the worst story ever written is humorous, and it's like vampires, and that's like definitely paranormal. The 5 element series is more like supernatural powers, which is generally included in the umbrella of paranormal, but it's not people's like go-to when they think paranormal. And then I love writing in so many different styles, so many different voices. It's like, with the pants thing that we talked about, you sit down in front of the screen and it's almost like what mood you're in. Like, I don't know if you do this too. I have like at least 5 works in progress that I'm all writing at the same time. And it's like what I feel like writing. But anyways, I've gone on a huge tangent. Oh, your original question was romance versus paranormal. So the difference, like you said, it all comes down to love. But I don't know how much I can speak on being a romance writer. For me, like I mentioned with the war story, I sit down and I intend to write one thing, and it comes out as what it comes out as. And I tried writing this short story. I was like, for Upspark, a lot of people call it magical realism. So I was like, let me actually try to do magical realism. I studied the craft a little bit, and I'm going to use super flowery language, and it's going to feel like a folk tale. And I wrote it, and the feedback I'm getting back is like, girls, this isn't magical realism. It's good, like it. It's a nice love story. So you asked about being a romance author versus paranormal. I guess when I try and write magical realism, I write romance. And when I try and write paranormal, it's coming out cozy mystery. So I don't know. I'm not the expert by any means.
Well, entertaining nonetheless, and absolutely intriguing based on what I've seen. And I'm definitely ordering the first Upspark. That's my TBR is getting so big, you guys. I'm trying to, because I do try and whenever I have guests come on to chat with me, I fall in love with the way that the passionate way that they describe their book. And I say, I've got to read this book. So I have so many on my Kindle right now that are just waiting.
I'm right there with you. I'm in the same book. I think being indie authors, we got to be on the cutting edge, and we're exposed to all these wonderful talents, you know, between the trades and like promoting each other's books, and just realizing like so many amazing authors. And I just wish that people, you know, and I say this, I understand. I was a reader that I like, if the book didn't have so many reviews, I'd think, oh, it's not good, and I'm not going to give it a try. And I just really wish readers would know, you know, you have that sneak peek, you have that sample section, like use that, look at that, get a sense of the writing. Because there's so many fabulous books out there, and they're just not recognized yet, and so many fabulous authors. And I think in addition to the friendships, in addition to the personal development of just everything that's explored in writing, because, you know, your subconscious comes out, and the parts of you that are maybe kept under wraps and everything else. In addition to that, it's discovering this fabulous new talent. And I would even venture to say that some of these indie authors, you know, because they have to try harder, they are sweating over every word that's put down, you know. I think a lot of more mainstream authors, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is just pure pure conjecture, but you know, they have stricter deadlines, and they need to get it out, and they might not go over it with as such a strong fine-tooth comb as some of these indie authors, and the work that they have, it's so wonderful. And especially if you're looking for something a little bit different, you know, they're expanding out and pushing the boundaries, and it's been amazing. And I love that I'm reading things that I wouldn't normally read in some of the trades and everything. So I hear you on the TBR list.
And that's one of the great things about this channel, and why I try and have so many different authors on. And thank you for coming on and talking about your work today, is because a lot of people don't know about this secret indie world of like amazing books. And I think that we sometimes start things that traditionally published authors take off and run with.
Pick up.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, trends start somewhere. There's got to be trendsetters.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing this too, by the way.
It's my pleasure. It's absolutely my pleasure. I genuinely love to get on here and talk with new authors, and hear about what they're working on and what they have coming soon. And like I said, the way that you describe and talk about your work with such passion, I want to go read this book. I want to go order it right now on Amazon.
Thank you.
Because it sounds fantastic, and I can tell just from your energy level that it's going to be a book that you have put time into, your energy into, your heart into, and a lot of love to craft that
definitely
that work. So it's going to come through in the writing and in the story. So yeah, that's amazing to get to talk with new people and find. Yeah, my TBR list is probably never going to get completed at this point.
Right. Yeah. The satisfaction of like, did it is not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, no, that's a list that will continue to grow as long as I am blessed enough to be able to meet with other authors like
Yeah.
yourself, then
Thank
my
you.
TBR list will keep growing. So, but I love the covers.
Thank
They
you.
are fantastically eye-catching. Guys, I will have all of Nicole's links in the video description below. So make sure to check those out. And I just want to say thank you again for coming on the show and for telling us all about your books. And I do want to ask though, the worst
Yeah.
story ever written. Why did you pick that title? Because I read that and I was like, I had to read the description. I was like,
that's ballsy.
I was like, man, this is
That's horrible.
the title. I'm like, I gotta know where she's going with this, because to title your book "The Worst Story Ever Written," I'm like, there's something behind this book.
So I sat down to write the follow-up to Upspark. And Upspark is a bit heavy if you haven't gotten that sense already. There's a lot of light in it, but it tackles some heavy hitting topics, dealing with life and death and all that. So I'm sitting down to write Stardust, and the characters keep goofing off. They're such goofballs, and it's just getting too silly. I'm like, all right, I need to take a break from this and just get this out of my system. And then I have a bunch of crazy ideas. I had this crazy idea in the back of my head. I remember reading once about this real estate professional that got really successful by posting these like atrocious properties, and just instead of like making them sound lovely, it'd be like, this is a total pile of crap house and like horrible pictures and everything else. But they got a lot of traffic because of that, like it went viral. And I was like, let me do a book like that. Anyways, that was the idea of just like, what would it be like to just like put it flat out there, like, this is going to be the worst story. But of course it's a humorous story. And so that was the initial idea. And the story is about a struggling writer, of course. And she falls in love. Well, she's been fangirling over the local vampire prince, and they come together trying to solve a mystery, and romance happens. So it's not the worst story ever written, and the title comes from, she's a struggling author, and kind of like her arch enemy had called her writing the worst story ever written. But I liked I liked the eye-catching aspect of the worst story ever written.
It definitely drew my attention, but it sounds like one of those books that is going to be super entertaining. Like,
it is super entertaining.
Sure some laughs in there.
It will make you laugh out loud. I promise that you will have some laugh out loud moments. But it's very lighthearted. This is the total antithesis of Upspark. If you don't want to go deep, if you want to stay lighthearted, if you want to delve into a total fantasy world, it goes off the deep end, and it does end on a cliffhanger. I will be working on book 2. I want to go through the whole series, but I've created this crazy zany world. And so if you want, I felt like, there was the seriousness of Upspark, but also we're in such heavy times. Sometimes we just need a book. Like it was also inspired. I read a paranormal romance that was just hilarious, and I was like, oh, I need this. I just sometimes just want to be able to go to some resource and like, I need to laugh, like your sitcoms or whatever. And so I wanted to write a book like that, and you'll definitely laugh out loud.
Right now we need a little bit of levity for sure. So in our reading, and I think that escaping into reading has become such a very popular activity lately, with everything that has been going on, and the fact that we're all kind of stuck inside.
We can't travel outside, so we're gonna go in and go into our fantasy world, and thank God for books.
Yes, amen. Thank God for books. So, but I just thank you again so much for coming on the show, guys. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and to the channel, because I mean, some absolutely amazing people that come on and share some fantastic books that you might not have heard of, but you should definitely check out, because I'm going to. So thank you again, Nicole, for coming on the show. And
Thank you.
everybody out there, stay warm, stay happy and healthy, and we'll see you again soon.